Hey, welcome to ActionCast. Home care is a specific industry, and sometimes in our marketing, it's hard to separate offering services from actually standing out and being a solution for those that you serve. Today, that's what we're going to talk about in ActionCast. Hello, hello. And today we are talking about marketing and all things market driven here in home care ops. We always refer to Kevin Hansen. He is the absolute marketing guru. I don't know at what point you earn that official title of guru, but Kevin has achieved that status. And he is the author of the book Branded by Design. He quite literally wrote the book on marketing, and he is one of our greatest assets here in home care ops. He's also a partner of home care ops, so I guess technically we're the assets of home care ops. But today we're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to put a disclaimer at the beginning of this. This is the disclaimer. When Kevin talks about marketing, it is as though you are absorbing wisdom that he knows and he has. So I promise you're going to want to go and review this. You're going to want to listen again. Without even being in the middle of it, I know that Kevin is going to put out so much information that there's going to be a moment you're going to be like, what did he say? So give yourself permission to listen and to absorb this knowledge and understand that you can review, rewind, and listen to this as a later date. So rest knowing that we are going to learn about all things marketing. So welcome to the ActionCast, Kevin.
I appreciate it. Well, for the last 20 years, I've gone by the self-proclaimed term marketing geek, but I'll take marketing guru. That works for me. So,
well, every couple of decades, we have to reinvent ourselves. So
something else. Yeah, I will take that. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you letting me in on this. Something I've been really passionate about with any business I've worked with in several industries is helping a business find their voice and really be able to stand out. I doubt any of you went into business just to sound like and be like the other companies in your town. Otherwise, you'd probably be employed by them is usually where I start when it comes from this. And home care is not unique. Every industry has what I refer to as the industry brand trap. And so there's this constant battle of standing out. And there's things that many businesses do by default that get them caught in this trap of looking like, sounding like, being like, and not even separating themselves from the competition at all, which makes it really difficult for those businesses to make it out of that first 3 to 5 years where we see so much where they just don't go beyond that time. And so for businesses to start off stronger and be stronger out the gate, or if you've recognized, maybe you're not just a newbie coming in, an aspiring new home care owner, maybe you're getting started, still working on your brand, maybe you've been established for some time and see a disconnect in your brand efforts and your marketing efforts and are working on refining and redefining some of those aspects of your branding. Hopefully this is an action cast for you. And this is something I've been thinking about when Katie asked me what I would like to talk about. It kind of spurred from last month. I was at a conference where I heard from some amazing titans of industry, a lot of them digital marketing, a lot of them just business coaches. Tony Robbins was there and he spoke for quite a while. He usually does. It's always great to hear from him and see what he's saying. But he really challenged people and spoke to people about really effectively communicating what separates them as a solution for their right audience. And he had people stand up and try it out, and he had workshopped them until they got down to really clearly being able to say who they are and what the value of their business is and why people should choose them. And a lot of people might get started in business and forget to do that. They're like, all right, I'm so technical, I've got to get my licensing done. And you get beat down by the state licensing, whether it's just your Secretary of State or in many states, 38 plus of the states, you have to go through actual home care licensing, which can get you just bombarded with the technical terms and the licensee's language rather than how a client might need to be communicated with. And so they get into the what, and then they get into the doing, and they don't really develop the business as its own entity
Mhm.
that people can connect and relate with. And another speaker, Andy Elliott, when we talked about success, he said a lot of people chase the money, chase the success, or in the case of what we're talking about today, you're basically chasing the tasks of home
Mhm.
care. But he said if you chase the person, the man or woman that you want to be, and you eventually become who you're meant to be, then all the other things fall in place. And so today we're going to talk about a few things that I see out of many, and a lot of them are going to come from this book, Branded by Design, that I put together, that will help you start working on those refinements to really be able to separate yourself and stand out in that sea of very similarly designed brands, similarly voiced content, similar pictured content as well too. There's a lot of similarities across websites. And while you might be really passionate about what you built, for the consumers, it can get really confusing when all things look the same, sound the same, and in their opinion are the same. And so we're going to help you stand out a little bit more here.
That's awesome. Well, looking at it, in my mind, okay, and I feel like this is from a perspective of somebody that knows nothing about marketing. I know good marketing and I know bad marketing. So we can all pick oh my God, that was a really poor choice. We've all seen those commercials or those ads, or maybe sometimes things will strike us as that was really good. But on my end, I'm that person that sees the magic, but I don't understand the magic. I don't understand that recipe for how that became how someone took, we've all seen those Super Bowl ads where we think they paid $8 million for that. Like that, who convinced them that that was a good idea? And then we've seen those ones that, boy, they get their money's worth out of that $8 million. They get talked about for years. So from somebody that understands, that can appreciate the positive effects of marketing. But for myself as an agency owner, as that person starting that, like you said, they're just trying to keep caregivers showing up. They're trying to remind caregivers to clock in. They're trying to do those kind of tasks-based things in a business that become your daily grind without recognizing it. And at some point you allow that to identify you just by default because you're not putting an intentional message out there.
Mm-hmm.
So from that person, how do they start? What is that process from someone, like you said in your book, Branded by Design? That first chapter, when you're getting them into it, where do you start? Where's our starting base here?
Well, the biggest thing is not to forget about that purpose and passion they built into it. One of my favorite speakers ever is Simon Sinek. And we default to explaining the how and the what all the time, but it's really that why that drives us. It's that why that makes you either connected to or disconnected from those commercials during the Super Bowl. And while you might not be connected, there might be 10 listeners out there that are going to pay for that ad in spades for that branding company that it was worth it for. Probably not if it's only 10, but there is someone that they're hoping to connect with, and hopefully they've identified the right audience for them and are connecting with that right audience. But you may just be part of the 40% that is not going to connect with that brand ever. Right?
Right.
And, same product, different company, you'll connect with them.
Okay in marketing? Like that's okay. That's a good
it's something you got to realize and recognize and make sure that as you put this together, as you set the voice, and as we go over these 3 steps here, that there are 3 of many, but these 3 steps here could be really profound in helping you establish and anchor yourself, work on the brand, right? Make the man or woman right, as Andy Elliott said, so that other things can fall in place and they're not going to be as difficult to work on. All of these things that I'll talk about here should shape how you approach your logo, your name, the colors and fonts that you use. In fact, all this, except for the last part that we'll talk about, the 3rd step is after all the work usually as part of connecting. But the first couple of steps I'll talk about come before I even coach people into a name or have a business select a name. As I've done this over the last 20 years, helping people brand a business, I focus on this first. And then if the name they came to me with as an established business still works, then we got the name still. If it needs to change or you're a brand new business, then these steps here will help kind of set and define what that name should be, because it should reflect the why, it should reflect the outcomes, it should reflect the brand personality that you have there. And so these steps that we're going to talk about here today, the first one's going to be really focusing on your brand essence. And that sounds like some crazy ethereal term, but every brand has an essence, and it. When you watch the Super Bowl, the really off the wall commercials for some of the companies, that's their essence. They're really playful. They're really rugged. They're really whatever they are. There is a personality involved in a business. And if there isn't a personality, then you really fail to connect, because the personality of a business is a relationship level. So first part of a brand essence, and a lot of people call this a brand pyramid. So if you go search it online, or just do the easy thing and get this book, and I'll help walk you through it. But if you're looking for a brand pyramid, brand essence, they're kind of back and forth in the way people talk about it. But the brand personality that you work towards is how you hope people will characterize your business. Are you sincere? Are you compassionate? Are you trusting? Right? Are you capable? Are you fun, rugged, like all these other things that happen out there? But you can't be all of those things to everybody. So your brand personality essentially comes down to one or two key characteristics that you set everything else on, and all those other things are just nice accents to that personality. But you're not a split personality, multi-split personality business or individual, hopefully not. So you need to find something to anchor to that could be that main pull. This brand personality will define the type of people that you want to work with as a team within your business, and should help influence the type of clients that you find as well too. So that's a huge piece to start at. And then beyond that, looking at the user values. A lot of people say, well, I threw all the what's that I do. But the what's isn't why people are looking for care. I mean, it drives some of it, but it's really the frustration that they hope to resolve. And so those values of a lifestyle that they want to expand a little bit more in their lives with assistance is going to be a value they're looking for. The what is the means to get there, but the value is what you need to be able to communicate to much more effectively than the what. There's a lot of comments out there that say, features sell, features tell, but stories sell. And so working on those connective, relatable situations that help them understand that your values align with their values is going to be really critical. And then beyond that, really similar to that is the emotional rewards I hate to say of all the industries, but of most of the industries I've been a part of, this is one is really high on the emotional reward scale. And if you can work to integrate experiences that you already have delivered, or the types of experiences, and to explain scenarios based on, if you're a brand new business, past knowledge as a caregiver working for another business, this is what happens as an emotional reward from this. So focus on a scenario that leads to emotional rewards. And as you build a client base and are able to capture stories and testimonials, pull those into your brand messaging, pull those into your brand stories, so that people can really see and identify those emotional rewards and those experiences that they are looking for as an accent to what's valuable to them. Because if they can get what they value and have a positive emotional experience on top of that, your brand is solid. It's going to really be effective.
That's all, and this just proves how good of a teacher you are, Kevin, because even me, as you're sitting here, I'm picturing those iPhone ads where, you have this incredible technological, amazing computer in your hands that they could highlight all the attributes of that. And it really is incredible. But instead, their commercials show people taking pictures of cute little puppy dogs and putting them over here, and cute little things. And like, that could be argued that, man, that's such a small thing that technology piece does, but they're connecting that with the emotion, and it's wildly successful. We buy a new cell phone for like $1,000 every year because of that. That's crazy.
Which is a great jump into the next two pieces here of that brand essence, the functional benefits. Having a commercial about how this lens does this or that versus a family enjoying a movie that their teenage kid put together, or instead of the old 1980s version of slideshows that we probably experience, like watching a video on YouTube together as a family of an experience, or reliving something that that feature was able to capture, or that function was able to capture. is going to be way more telling. And so when you look at functional benefits, a lot of people get carried away with saying, oh, more information. I'm going to provide a list of 20 things. I'm going to break down cooking. I'm going to break down cleaning. I'm going to break down companionship care and throw more at them as to what this is. And they're feature telling, but they're not story selling. And so bringing that story in and helping people understand how those outcomes and the key solutions are something that stands out. And so rather than giving a full list, which a lot of people do, they take that key solution that you want to talk about in a video or on a blog post or on a web page for conversions or a video that you're doing, take 2 to 3 of those key features and emphasize something that shows that that connects to the values, interests, and desires of the person you're trying to reach. And then the feature side, again, this is where it gets really tricky. People want to dive in. Again, don't do a list. Focus on a couple key features, like a nice lens that focuses in, auto focuses out, or, oops, some guy walked in the background to lead it. That's a feature, but I don't need someone to say, you can do this, but showing it how easy it is to do is something there. So one example that I usually talk about in this feature side is like music memory, right? Music muscle memory, however people say it, right? Like instead of giving a list and saying, we do this, we do, music muscle memory, and here's all the things we do with it. Go from a story side, go from a situational side, talking about how as caregivers incorporate music and movement with their Parkinson's ridden clients, they're able to see in a short amount of time that it triggers certain patterns in the brain that temporarily bypass the effects of Parkinson's, right? And someone can be able to move, and it could delay the degradation of mobility for that person or provide temporarily or longer lasting relief by doing that based on certain frequencies. And some people have some real results from that. I've seen so many, videos of situations of that meant a whole lot more to me than the web pages that just gave like a page and a half of what Parkinson's care was. They demonstrated how Parkinson's care affected them in a positive, impactful way. And so that's the switch, is getting that brand to be more focused on the consumer. Everything we talked about right now, except for the persona, like your personality, has been them focused, right? So you set your personality, you kind of set out who you want to be, but you should be thinking about who the people are that you're serving to a degree. And then all these other things are them focused. It's consumer centered. Right. And in terms of how you're going to connect the brand to them. Because if a brand doesn't connect, it's a failed brand. Brand success is more about what people say about your brand than what you say about your brand. And so the greater that overlap is, if you looked at a Venn diagram of just them saying stuff about you and you saying stuff about you, the more that overlaps complementarily, the stronger your brand is. And the more you set yourself apart. So that's a huge thing. That's the whole, those are the main 5 steps with brand persona, brand personality, and brand essence, rather. The next thing is, because we've talked about it so much, is the right fit client. And a lot of people have some misunderstandings of this, and they don't really understand what it means to have right fit client. And they get to, well, someone that needs home care. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, someone that needs home care that is on Medicaid. Okay. Or VA pay or long-term care insurance. Okay. What else, right? What else is about it? And so really getting down to types about that person, their demographics, how far away they are from your office, are they in a financial situation to do private pay if you're doing private pay, or do they fit within those? Those are all part of it. Yes, the way that they can pay is all part of it. But something that I've adopted, it's a version of what I've taught for 20 years, but it's how we teach it at Home Care Ops, is ideal client. It's right fit client, kind of adjusted. And it's an acronym. You have people that are in need. They have a diminished situation. They're either disabled temporarily or permanently. They have dementia. That's the D in ideal. They're elderly, or they have some enhanced situation that might require some care. They have available resources, and that available resources has to connect with the way you can get paid, right? So that's that payment side of it. And then long term, the more longevity there is for that client to be in your care, the greater your lifetime value is for them, which all leads to outcomes in your marketing efforts and in your lifetime return on investment. Because you're not going to get that return usually on a marketing investment early on, because there's so much that goes into acquiring someone and then working with someone. And there's so much cost and overhead working and caring for the clients. You really need to have them on longer to have that payout, especially if you're on Medicaid. And VA pay in some states, narrow margins, you need them longer. So really understanding what makes up that right fit person, and the energy you put out there as a brand will help attract a certain energy of clients. Maybe I'm not the Mountain Dew guy that appreciates seal as a seal with dancing orcas, right? Maybe I am, right? I'm thirsty, but I might not want to drink that now, right? And so having that idea of who you're trying to work with and communicating that way will help naturally attract them. And then showing and demonstrating through what we talked about in the brand persona side and the essence side, that you understand them, that you can connect with them is an important part there. And so next part, once you've identified where they're at, who they are, what their situations are, what their needs are, and situations and needs are two different things. Situation is, can they afford it? What's their family caregiving scenario? How often do they need you? And then can they afford it based on how often they need you? That's that available resources side. Then the goal is connecting with people. And this is where I really love to see businesses evolve their thinking. This is where we escape the websites that are all just templates off of some website building platform that all have the same generic home care, home health branded content, pictures, graphics. And this is where we get into just creating to connect and building a real relationship through your marketing efforts that they feel, not just read, right? And move on from, and something that anchors them to you as a brand.
That's awesome. Well, and that makes me think of when you go back to right fit and like connecting, it feels like it's this narrow, I don't want to say narrow, but it's this path of knowing who you best serve, because you can't serve everyone. And when you try to serve everyone, that you become sterile and generic and just, very bland. And so, but then you can niche it down. And so how do you keep that really well honed? We say right fit client, we say ideal, like me and you are, we do action leaders. And so you do a lot of coaching on this. So I am aware of the vernacular and you went through it. How do we make that conversation specific without maybe excluding those, there's always going to be that person that needs it and maybe they don't fit into that perfect circle. Is there a danger of niching it down too much, or is it almost man, just work on it, get it as tight as you can, and those people will naturally come in? How much should you worry about like really tightening the focus of that communication?
Narrow enough that you don't find yourself in a situation where you are stretching your resources. The right fit client should be able to be one that you have the team in place for, or easily available to put in. Maybe you have caregivers in the wings waiting to take hours on because you're at that stage in business. But if you overextend yourself and basically overpromise and underdeliver, then that's going to really taint the brand. So that right fit client may not be, especially starting off, you might have 3 areas of care that you are well equipped to take care of. You have the staff to take care of. You want to do all the other stuff, but maybe it's not right to take them on. And I've seen some really amazing brands, even here in my hometown of Idaho Falls, Idaho, where a company, as they were building, worked with almost every other home care agency in town. So when they were over lead saturated, had too many leads, but not enough care, they didn't want to just abandon that person. They did the Miracle on 34th Street Santa Claus thing and said, hey, we can't take you right now, but we don't want to see you go without care. So here's 2 other companies that we feel could do a great job for you where you're at right now. They knew who took Medicaid. They knew who took VAP. They knew who did this, and built a network that as they grew, they're an amazing dominant company right now. This particular agency is, they dominate the East Idaho market, and they work very well with almost every other home care agency. Some don't play as nice. There's like 2 that I know that didn't have a good relationship with, but every other one with home health and home care, they really related well with. So you may not be the solution at the moment because of capacity, which is a real thing. But the more you can be honest about that and setting your right fits, as well as another set of right fit client and ideal client we didn't talk about is your non-negotiables. The types of client situations, the type of pay situations you are not going to be able to accept or won't accept because you don't want to. And that's perfectly fine.
Right.
Like there are other agencies out there that love that, will take that on as part of their brand essence of who they are and who they want to attract. And so I'd say go form a really good relationship with them so it doesn't harm your brand. It actually strengthens your brand. I know that I've had people in my years of working in other industries where I wasn't able to take them on. I referred them elsewhere. And when they had a need later on again, they reached out to me still because that was such a positive experience. They like, well, I wanted to work with you. I couldn't, but can I work with you now?
Right. And that's, and that shows a lot of wisdom in how you're talking to. And this isn't, I mean, we have not scratched the surface. And I told you, Kevin will not get out of here without basically teaching a mini course on marketing. It just won't happen. You just have too much knowledge and too much industry experience. But we haven't even really touched on, I feel like a lot of the marketing conversation has gone towards like attracting your right fit, like from a perspective of clients. But man, there's referral partnerships. You just highlighted an amazing referral partnership marketing plan. There's, I mean, marketing to caregivers and to staffing in general, to team development and recruiting. That is so interwoven. It's crazy. And it kind of comes back to knowing who you are, what solutions you offer, and just having such a good, and it amazes me. And I know I'm referring back to the conversation, but how you said you really have to know who you are and get all this established even before like naming the company. People act like naming the company is the biggest decision they will ever make in their life. They spend more time deciding what to name their company than they do what to name their children. And like they, you know, because it seems inherent to them, it's very important. But people really, there's some silly named companies out there that do amazing, that have their branding and their marketing is amazing. And that goes to what you have talked about, is really when you get into it, that branding piece, that's what keeps you afloat in the rough times. Having a really great name isn't what's going to keep you afloat in the rough times, but
it's that connection with your community that gets you through. Because at the end, it's not what you say. I mean, you're going to do some work at the beginning to establish what you hope it to be. And you're going to pivot and work along the way. But in the end, it's how well your brand connects with the community, connects with your current clients, connects with your caregivers, connects with your office staff. And that's a evolving process. And in 5, 6, 7 years down the road, you might have to review your brand and say, is my brand still on point? Is the way I talk about it? And it probably won't be 100% on point, because hopefully you've grown and you've become more, and you need to revisit some of the stuff. Maybe have different services that you've added and different approaches that you've learned and grown into because things have changed. Technology has changed. Opportunities have changed. Maybe we learned something that helps. But at the end of the day, all that stuff is for naught if you don't connect. So on the connection side, we talked about content not being so clinical and sterile and definitive and dictionary style content, and having more of a, you know, I call it the solutions-based framework. We're not going to get deep into that. We can't get deep into that in this video. we did another video talking about solutions-based framework really briefly, so I'm not going to rehash that too much, but it is pulling in stories and experiences to drive the conversation rather than what. And so that creates a connection. We are a story-driven human
whatever you want to say
species. Like we're like, our species loves stories. And so if you can pull in a story, help people understand how you differentiate through the story rather than how by telling them your credentials and resume, let those experiences drive that conversation, and do really diligent work to collect those stories. As you hear about them, document them. If you have a chance to record them, if you have a willing caregiver, a willing client, a willing referral source partner to engage with you in documenting some of those things that's really accent and emphasize your brand in a positive way that you know relates and connects, because the reason why you're videoing it, the reason why you're documenting it is because it had a connection. That will connect better with the next right fit audience, the next right fit caregiver group, the next referral partner source, and helping them understand that. When you do more of that connection through creating, it's kind of a given, it's a giving cycle. The
Right.
more you pour into that, the more it gives to the next thing. And the easier it is for you. Because one of the biggest things we get asked all the time in most of these marketing and referral source marketing meetings that we have with our action leaders, and with, occasionally we do a pop-up webinar or master workshop on this. People ask, well, how do I approach people? How do I talk to people? How do I do this? And it's like, start with the story.
Right.
Right. Hey, go up and say, hey, I know you're really busy. And I know, if you're going to referral source, I know you guys are really busy. I know you have a lot of people come and talk to you. I just want to share experience we have with a client that is really common with the type of patients you deal with here, and share that story with them. Is there anyone that you feel that that could benefit from that experience? And then you're talking about experience, which they should be emotionally connected to as the referral source, rather than saying, hey, we take care of people with Alzheimer's. Do you have any Alzheimer's patients? No.
Yeah.
They probably do, but they're going to say no because that's a default. But if you say, we were really able to see this kind of progress. We gave this husband this kind of relief by taking off the load of working with his wife, and here's how we were able to benefit this family. Do you have any families that are struggling with their loved one that could benefit from something like that? That you've invested them in a story, whether they wanted to be invested in that story or not, or they're heartless and they shouldn't be in the industry. Right. But you pull them in with a story. And if people ask you what you do, don't just say I do caregiving. Don't say I own a home care business. Connect with the story. Connect something that they may or may not understand, but throw something out there you're good at that shares a story that hopefully draws them in with a better understanding of the outcome of what you do, not what you do that they may not fully comprehend. They'll understand an experience, but they may not understand a Webster's dictionary answer, right?
Right. Well, and I want to thank you for the conversation today. And please hold up your book again. Please, do you have it there? Because I thought I had my copy here now.
Yes. That's right. Branded by Design.
We will put a link in the comments for you to get that book. It honestly could be a course. It could be at some point, it probably will be a course. This is what we do for home care. And this could be that thing that takes all the jumbled questions you have in your mind and helps you create the path forward for branding your company, branding who you are intentionally. And like he said, it might be that thing. Maybe you've had a brand for 10, 15 years. I promise you that brand is not as true to who you are as maybe it once was when you conceived it. These things always require some true intentional conversations that we have with ourselves and those that are most trusted in our team, those that have really a good concept of vision. So I want to thank you, and I want to remind everyone, absolutely save this video, rewind it, share it with a home care owner that needs that. Maybe that's where they're at. Maybe they're stuck in how to talk to who they serve best and who they really offer a solution for.
Katie,
Kevin,
along with the link.
Go ahead.
Along with the link, I'm just going to help motivate people a little bit more here. For as long as this video is up, and if you find it, whether there's another discount going on the book, maybe I'm doing like a pre-order sale or something, no matter what's going on with the book for online, I'm going to add a take action coupon code that will give you a 10% discount, either against the price of the book or even on top of maybe an active discount I'm running at the time. So it's another 10% off of the book price or off of a sale price. So
that's awesome.
We'll provide that for you.
I hadn't heard of that. So that's awesome. You heard it here first, folks. And so, yes, this was a great conversation. These are the conversations we have that are meant to take wherever you are as an owner, whatever part of your entrepreneur journey you're on, and get you right from where you're starting at to get you to where you're going to be. We do that in a variety of ways. We have our Action Leaders coaching experience. We have tailored coaching programs that work to meet individual owners that are maybe stuck in a very unique place. We offer those as well. You can always put in the comments, put in Action Cast, put in marketing in the comments, and I'll be happy to reach out to you and talk about those specific things. Kevin will be involved in teaching you in those things too, because Kevin, he is just the marketing guy, and he is always the one that we are going to go to for marketing. I want to thank you for joining in on this episode of ActionCast, and we can't wait to see you next time.
Thanks, Katie.